We are now going to go over to Simon. Here we go. And yes, Simon Devereux from Access VFX is going to tell us more about mentoring, but from the VFX and animation side and the great work that Access VFX is doing to build the next generation of visual effects artists. So over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Neil. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. So I wanted to spend the next 10 minutes or so just to tell you a little bit about what Access VFX kind of is, kind of how it started, and a little bit about how it started to give it context, if that makes sense. And I guess the most important thing to kind of talk about here is, how we're working as an industry to make careers in visual effects, animation, and games, and wider creative fields more open and accessible to everyone, really. So, as Neil said, I'm Simon. I wear two hats. By day, I'm the global director of talent development at Framestore, a creative and technical studio that helps bring visual effects or visual imagination to life across film, television, advertising, and immersive experiences. And alongside that, almost by night, which makes me sound a bit like Batman. I'm not Batman. I'm also the founder and director of Access VFX. So Access VFX is a global movement that began in the UK in 2017 with a mission to create more diversity, awareness, and opportunity across the visual effects, animation, and games industries. So for those of you that might be hearing about us for the first time, we're global, as I said, but we're a volunteer-led non-profit initiative. So the only money we really take is either through sponsorship or through the membership dues that we collect from our member studios. And the work we do across the industry is really built around kind of four key pillars that I'll rattle through super quickly. The first one is education. So at our core, we're about demystifying the industry and making sure people actually understand how they can get into visual effects, animation, and related technology, kind of creative STEAM careers. And one of the ways we do this is through training workshops and events. The event you can see on the screen here is the Big Bang Fair we do every year. And we have this amazing exercise where we get school kids to make a creature out of plasticine. And they work together, they collaborate and listen to each other, and they take that plasticine model over to a workstation where they're guided by the people in the purple t-shirts you can see on the screen here. And they show them how to turn that physical clay creation into a digital clay creation, which is really what we do as visual effects artists, particularly if we're working on kind of physical assets. So we run workshops, we deliver practical insight, and we work closely with schools, colleges, and universities. So it could be guest lectures, Big Bang, or just helping students connect what they're studying with the real industry. So education is pillar number one. Pillar number two is inspiration. So this is where we really come alive. It's about creating moments where people can see us up close as an industry, meet people who work in it. We role model inclusion and diversity. So we really do subscribe to the see it, be it mentality, and they can start to see themselves being part of the industry. So we run free events, free outreach, both in person and virtual, which I'll get to, industry panels, portfolio sessions, feedback sessions. This is a great event we run with Dan Achimpong, who runs an initiative called Talk to Dan, which is connecting young people to the broader media landscape. So events, outreach, and just really connecting people once they know what they want to do. And then we have recruitment. So hopefully that's obvious. This is where all the inspiration and education, all the work we do on those first two pillars really connects to opportunity. It's because ultimately we want to make the industry more open and representative. And we have to think carefully about how people are hired. We also running conscious bias workshops for all manner of sectors. So one of the ways we support this is by promoting apprenticeships, entry-level employment opportunities. This picture here is from the Rainbow Conference at London ACM Graph Run. We're no strangers to a recruitment booth where we don the Access VFX t-shirts. We wear the purple, we bring the purple. And we recognise that entry-level pathways are so important. So as I said, apprenticeships are really important as a pathway, particularly if we're not debunking the traditional university route, but just offering an alternative. And we work closely with studios and partners to encourage fair and inclusive hiring practices. And then the fourth panel or the fourth pillar, not panel, sorry, I've got panels on the brain, is mentoring. And this really is the jewel in the crown of what we do. It's our global e-mentoring program. So we started that program in 2017 when we launched, and we connect aspiring talent with professionals currently working across VFX animation and creative technology industries. I will say, Neil obviously talks about VFX artists, but we really are connecting people to the industry more broadly. So it's not just creatives, it's not just artists, it's production, it's marketing, it's HR, it's pipeline, it's technology, it's the whole suite of what makes any business run. And what the mentoring program does is it allows people who may not have industry contacts, family connections, the industry's got enough Nepo babies, and we give them access, we create the network for them. So, and the mentoring program helps them understand those different career paths to get advice on their portfolios, guidance on education routes, the whole shebang, and it's completely free and it's completely not time restricted. So you can be connected to your mentee for years. I mean, we've got people who were connected back in 2017 and they've been with the same mentee ever since. So they've supported them through schooling all the way through to navigating studio politics and all of that good stuff. So super amazing, really proud of it. And it's kind of grown by an osmosis of sorts. So just super quickly, back in 2016, I was working at the Mill in London, where we'd started doing some really positive work around outreach and recruitment. But the truth is, it was very inward looking. It was focused on our studio, our hiring challenges, our very bespoke outreach programs. And it made me realize something important, that if every studio is trying to solve these challenges individually, we're just working in silos. So when actually the problem we're trying to solve belongs to the entire industry. So in 2017, a few of us started asking a simple question, what would happen if the VFX animation industry actually worked together on this? So that year, ahead of National Inclusion Week 2017, we joined forces to plan what we called a pan studio week of activity across multiple companies. And these were studios that would normally compete with each other for work. And all of a sudden, we were collaborating around a shared goal. Here's a lovely picture of our first all members meeting back in the early days of 2017, very long time ago now. And the goal was simple, and it's on our website to this day. I'm sure Neil might have shared the link to our website already. It's to pursue greater inclusion, diversity, awareness, and opportunity across VFX and animation. And something really interesting happened is what started as a 1 week experiment. Here's a photo from day one at the Mill that year when we launched. What started as that 1 week experiment quickly became a movement. So studios, educators, industry bodies, and volunteers began to join in. And it became this kind of force of nature. And people realized that if we work together, we could create something much bigger than any single studio initiative. And that was really the moment Access VFX was born, not just in terms of the event, but where we've come to today. And we quickly adopted a slightly blunt, but very practical mantra. And we call it Get Shit Done, because Access VFX was never meant to be a talking shop. There's enough of those in this, well, not just in our industry, but I think in industry in general. We talked a bit about advocacy at the start with the Tell Jane initiative. Is every event, initiative, program had to lead to something real. So real conversations, real mentors, real opportunities, and ultimately real jobs. Our membership is, all over industry. There's a lot of names there, a real mix of, studios, educators, and industry partners, all working towards that shared goal that we mentioned. So that's a little bit of an intro, the shortest version of that I've ever given. But this brings us to the jewel in our crown, as I mentioned, which is our global mentoring program, which connects mentors and mentees across the world and is currently live in the following countries. So, of course, we're in the UK. We quickly expanded after we launched into the US because we had studios in Chicago, LA, and New York. Then that quickly extended to Canada, and then we launched our Access VFX Oceania chapter, which covered New Zealand and Australia. We've also expanded across much of Europe, so France, Germany, Spain, Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark, Belgium, Italy, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, and Austria. Now, the reason we're not in every single place, we have to do the safeguarding legals to be able to legally mentor young people as young as 13 years old. So these are the countries where we can legally mentor. But alongside that, so we can cover the whole world, we offer a Q&A platform that's accessible to anyone. So you don't necessarily get a one-to-one mentor, but you can join the platform and you can post a question. And actually you get advice from the might of around 2,500 mentors. So in many ways, that's better. So while formal mentoring operates in specific regions, the support and advice network is available globally, which means Access VFX is a true global mentoring community. So what does it look like in practice? This number's actually gone up since I last did this presentation. So we've got best part of 4,000 members globally, made up of both mentees and industry mentors. And within that community, we currently have around 2,294 mentees. So people who are looking for guidance, advice, and a clearer pathway into the industry. And importantly, and again, last count, we have over 2,305 mentors, so professionals working in VFX animation and related fields all over the world. So really interesting in terms of numbers. What's really interesting is the age demographic. The average age of our mentees sits around 19 to 25, which tells us something really important because this is the moment where people are trying to figure out what direction their careers might take. But some people say that actually people start kind of mentoring from 13 years old if they can. So that's why we do it, is we try and catch them before they get too jaded about industry routes, because we know that the earlier young people understand how the industry works, the more confident and prepared they feel when making decisions about education and careers. So that's really what our program's about. It's not about handing somebody a job. It's about helping them navigate the journey, ask the right questions, build confidence, and understand kind of what's possible. So that's kind of the plan with our program. I'll show you a few screenshots from what it looks like. It operates a bit like a Slack channel. So you'll see on the left-hand side, this is my view, is I've got six mentees because it's not time bound. You're not mentoring them across the table, virtually or in person. It's all based around different time zones. So you respond at your leisure. The main body of this screenshot here is the Q&A, so people can just reply to people's questions. So it's this living, breathing, quite organic platform that genuinely speaks to community. And then the beauty of becoming a mentor is you get access to this dashboard, which is all of the mentors. So not only do you get to cut your teeth on being a mentor as an industry professional, not only do you get to give something back, you also get to refine your leadership skills, because mentoring is all about goal setting and connection. But you also get to be on this almost Slack feed with every single global mentor. So super, super cool. Top roles mentees one. If you know any of these people in your network, please let me know. Send them the link. I'm sure the link's in the chat already. And just to expand what we focus on, am I all right for time, Neil?
Nope, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, good. I just wanted to talk a bit about some of the broader work we do, just so you kind of get a full idea of what Access VFX is. And I will remind you that we are volunteer-led. Everybody has a day job with this work. As Access VFX began to grow, it became clear that while the organization focuses on that widening access across the industry, we've always had this roving spotlight on inclusion. We recognize that some communities face very specific barriers to visibility and opportunity. So one of these groups is people of color working in or trying to enter VFX and animation. So alongside the broader inclusion work, we created XVFX. So XVFX is a community initiative within Access VFX that focuses specifically on increasing the visibility and representation of people of color across the industry. So the goal isn't just representation, it's about community, connection, and support, because for many entering the industry, it can feel isolating if you don't see many people who look like you or share similar experiences. So we create spaces for conversation, visibility, and mentorship. Chris, you mentioned that, notice this is Ravensbourne, the last event we did as XVFX. So panels, community discussions, networking opportunities where people can share experiences and support one another. And a big part of the work is about role modeling. You know, when aspiring artists, technologists, producers see people from similar backgrounds already working successfully in the industry, it helps break down the idea that these careers are somehow kind of out of reach. So the classic see it, be it. And ultimately, initiatives like XVFX exist because representation doesn't happen automatically. Industries evolve when people actively work to make them more open and more supportive and more visible to new talent. So XVFX is one example of that. And the other kind of splinter group that we set up way back in 2019 is QVFX or Queer VFX. So QVFX is a network that supports LGBTQIA plus professionals and aspiring talent working across the VFX and animation industries. So this, I guess, much like XVFX, it was created from a recognition that while our industry is full of creative people, not everyone always feels equally visible or supported. So QVFX continues to exist to provide a community hub, somewhere where queer professionals, students, and people hoping to enter the industry can connect with each other. So again, it's access to events, information, mentorship, peer support for both industry professionals and aspiring talent. And again, it's usually inspiring panels, community meetups, industry conversations. Again, a big part of the work is visibility and role modeling. So for young people entering the industry, seeing LGBTQIA plus professionals thriving in creative careers helps normalize the idea that this industry can be a place where people can be themselves and succeed. And then I'd be remiss not to shout about our, I would say, very successful podcast. We launched the Access VFX podcast back in March 2019. And the idea behind the podcast was and still is simple: to open up honest conversations about how people actually enter this industry. So it's not polished. You hear stuff at conferences and, on lots of different panels. We talk about all the different paths. We don't sugarcoat the uncertainties and the lessons people learn along the way. So across the series, we bring together artists, producers, technologists, educators, career changers from across the industry to talk about their journeys. And we cover questions that young people, parents, and teachers often ask. We kicked off this year's season with these 2 episodes. We've got loads, and we release an episode every 2 weeks now. But I love the clickbaity titles of these. Should I encourage my kids into VFX and animation? University college apprenticeship or none of the above. I'm recording one tonight, which is all around what I mentioned in one of the breakouts, is what else can these skills do? It's not just movies, it could be automotive or architecture or medical visualization. So loads of cool conversations. We position them as roundtables that should be played in classrooms or around kitchen tables. So that's the vibe of the podcast, and we're really proud of it. And then we also run a monthly virtual speed networking. We've been running that for nearly 3 years now. And it's another initiative that's grown organically through our US chapter. So once a month, we open a virtual room and bring together people from across the global VFX animation community. So students, early career changers, experienced professionals. And the format is super simple. And what we've done is we've created this online community that people are getting employed through and building networks through, and really kind of connecting with in a meaningful way. So that's the last thing I'll kind of position. If you can access all of our events on our website, and of course connect with us on lovely socials. We killed our Twitter, we killed our Facebook, but we are currently alive and well on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. I always finish with my QR code. So this is a direct link to our mentoring program if you want to share it with a student or an educator or somebody trying to break into the creative industry. And shamelessly, we are currently fundraising to renew the mentoring program because we lost our sponsor due to the industry downturn. So we are currently trying to raise 10K. We're nearly there, nearly there. So if you know anybody with deep pockets, you can send them this QR code. So that is it. Thank you for listening. I know I went on a bit, but yeah, if I get the opportunity, then I will talk. So that's my very long, very colourful, very purple deck that I'll stop sharing.
That was really great. And if I was, if I was a 19 to 25-year-old, I would be so all over that. You couldn't keep me away from Access VFX events.
That's why it exists.